Hi, my name is Balin James, and for my FOA 3, I'll be completing an oral commentary over the song Stick Up by Grandson. Now, this song was written last year in 2018, it came out, and so it's actually a narrative about a man who has a family and he lives in the United States, and it's a narrative of all of his problems, which are actually metaphors for the problems that the common people of the United States have. And so, in the first stanza, we see Tommy. That's the name of the father. He has a family, and it's basically stating all of the problems he has for the first two stanzas. And so, we see that Tommy cannot feed his family because he's paid very low wage and he has many problems. That's what we see in the first paragraph, and then we also see the quotation, "Why even bother?" And so Tommy, because of all the problems he's had, we already see that he doesn't care about life. That he is in such a poor place right now. And so we move on to the second stanza, and we see he lost his old job. And in the second line, Grandson says it wasn't immigration, which is a reference to all of the politicians saying that the immigrants are taking our jobs, and so Grandson's saying it's not, and he moves on to line 3 to say it was a machine, automation that replaced him, not the immigrants. And so then in line 4 we see what I said earlier, politicians left him, and you might be wondering, what do you mean they left him? And so we go down to the fourth stanza and we see that Tommy has post-traumatic stress disorder, which is a disorder common with persons from the military to come back with. And so we now understand that Tommy is an ex-military man. And so the politicians left him is a reference to the losing of pensions and benefits that military men have, or they're losing now. And we can see that in the first line of the fourth stanza, where he says, now first he lost his pension. And there was actually multiple articles released last year about how only 1 in 5 soldiers receive the pension they were promised. And also last year, the government removed many of the health benefits that soldiers received. So that's a reference to those problems. And so back in the second stanza, we see that Grandson says that the politicians have been corrupt since the recession, basically saying that government is corrupt right now. And so we move into the chorus, which is going to be the third stanza, and it's basically just the result of all of these problems. And so Grandson is saying in that third stanza, he's saying, if these problems are not addressed, this is what's going to happen. And in this stanza, Tommy goes to commit a crime. He's robbing a store, possibly to get money for his family, or he's just gone completely insane. And so he's committing a stick up. That's what the name of the song. And so we can see that this has actually happened multiple times. People with PTSD go insane and they commit crimes, and so it's a realistic situation that could possibly happen, that Grandson is saying, well, this is happening, it needs to be addressed. And so we move into the fifth stanza. Well, I guess fourth. I kind of went over it already, but in the fourth stanza, we see he lost his pension, he sunk into depression. Congress is defecting, like he said, they're corrupt. And then he goes on to say it's adding to the tension. He came back from the war, he's post-traumatic stressing. All of these things are building up. We go into the fifth stanza, and again, there's more problems, saying he can't afford his medicine he took for his aggression. And there was actually a study that came out 2 years ago that said most soldiers can't afford the medication they need or therapy for PTSD. And so we see again another problem that Grandson is alluding to. He can't afford his medicine. In the second line, Grandson says he needs help. He's relying on the system that rejects him. He needs help from the government, but the government is taking away his benefits, like in line 3, but they're leaving these people with weapons. And so that's a very big problem that people debate all the time, is that all these insane people have weapons, but they're not receiving help for their problems. And so we see in line 3 of this stanza that the government bought a one-way ticket into insanity. And so then we get the chorus again, emphasizing the fact that these problems will cause a crime. And then in the final stanza, we see that Grandson says there's a cold wind blowing. And this is important to note, that this is out of the narrative. This is, I guess you could say, this is the narrator now. He saying that there's a cold wind blowing and it's coming for America. And the cold wind could be trouble or pain or anything difficult. It's a metaphor for trouble, and it's coming for America. And so the whole song is basically detailing all of the problems that the common people of America have, and that how the government is rejecting them because they're corrupt, and it's going to cause major problems in the future. So overall, the tone of the song is, I'd say, bitter and depressing, and it's a rather eye-opening song. Thank you.